All right, hello. Welcome once again to the most depressing podcast on the internet. I think that's going to be the intro from now on. So, I don't really have too much planned today. I just kind of wanted to, do something. It's a bit of a boring Saturday, and I wanted to come on and just talk about some random tidbits. So, nothing too important, just something to pass the time. This probably won't be a very long stream. That's just my estimate. But we'll see what happens. Basically, when the discussion runs out is when I step out. I heard this was live from VidCon. No, never. I don't think I would ever pay to attend something that cringeworthy. I've kind of had the idea to make a video talking a little bit about why I thought it was kind of silly for the whole quote-unquote skeptic community to attend VidCon. Because, my perspective is that, here you are making a career out of basically, trashing on the quote-unquote social justice warriors and their ideas and, saying, this ideology is bad. We have to rally up and fight against it. All fair enough. But if you go to VidCon and you look at a big portion of panels that they hold, they follow that narrative. The creators of VidCon don't even like or support any type of person that goes against that narrative, as seen by their statement last year when the incident with Sargon went down. So I don't really understand how they can, in good conscience, show up to something like that and pay them money and basically fund the very ideology that they claim to stand against. That annoys me for some reason. I don't know about anybody else, but I find that to be a bit silly, a bit hypocritical. If you really cared about quote-unquote fighting back, why would you continue to fund something that just spreads those ideas? Anyway, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe that's my take for now. Maybe I'll put out a video on it. I'm not sure yet. I was starting to write one, but I've been more in the stream mood lately. Holy crap, Christiana's still alive. Yeah, that's the first thing that I was going to go over. Just real quick, I'm not really up on the Christian lore, but I do hear things every once in a while. And this actually came to my attention just before I went live. So I don't know the full story, and I just thought we could take a look at it together and see exactly what was going on. So I suppose we'll get right into that. Okay, so long story short, Chris Chan was kissing and getting too intimate with con attendees without their consent. Staff gave her multiple warnings to stop, and she didn't listen. She was 100% in the wrong, and she deserves to be removed from the convention as she broke the rules. I happened to be around when she broke down on the floor and offered to help the staff out since she knew who I was. All I did was try to explain what she did wrong and why she has to leave in a way someone with high-functioning autism can understand, as I'm autistic myself. Do they really think that Chris Chan has high-functioning autism? Maybe I don't quite understand the bar of the spectrum, but I've seen the behavior. It's a little weird. I don't condone any of this shit. What she did was wrong. Please don't think I was trying to defend any of that. Disavow. We just needed to get her out of the public since it was creating traffic. We brought her to the police office, and a nice lady calmed Chris down, and she eventually left. That's it. It's over. She's no longer here. You're all safe. Safe from the wrath of Chris Chan. Again, I just don't want people to think I was on her side as I'm in the photos now. I know the internet's going to document this. Just leave me out of it. I'm here to have fun. So I guess this is at the Too Many Games convention. I don't really know where that takes place. I'm not fully aware of what that is. I've heard the name before, but I know it's about video games, but that's it. I don't know what the focus is. Is it just like general gaming or, retro, or I don't know. That's not the point. Anyway, this person seems to be out of their mind. Whenever I hear something that they're doing something crazy, they're doing something inappropriate, and I just have to wonder who is taking care of this person, who is in charge of this person, because clearly they're not high functioning enough to take care of themselves and conduct themselves properly out in society. I mean, I kind of have to wonder how the people around that were being, you know, touched and stuff reacted to this, because now Chris Chan is under the transgender umbrella, and you know how these people kind of cower at the thought of doing anything that might be considered offensive to that particular community. So I wonder how they reacted to that. I really have to wonder. His interview with Count Dankula was interesting. Yeah, it was really strange though. I mean, some of the stuff that he was saying just seemed out there, like something about different worlds, or I didn't quite get it. I saw clips, but it was wild. I don't know if that person I don't know if they're trolling or if they're absolutely serious or what, but something about that person just seems very unwell, and as time goes on it seems to get worse and worse. You know, as I said, I'm not really up on the entire history of this person, but like I said, I see stuff in passing and it just seems to be escalating. So that's really all I've got on that. I mean, maybe some more information will come out eventually, but there's not much there to comment on. I mean, obviously, if that's the kind of behavior that he or she or whatever was taking part in, you know, you can't be doing that to people. That's just messed up. I'm lucky, you know, luckily she didn't do it, or he, whatever. I'm confused with the pronouns now. Didn't do it to somebody that, you know, just hauled off and knocked him out, which I think would be acceptable in a case like this. You know, you tell someone to stop, they don't stop. What else are you gonna do? You have the right to defend yourself. The next little thing here was pretty silly. It just came across to my attention earlier. You know, these are just little tidbits of things that I see around, and it's not something that I could make a full-length video of, so I kind of compile them together for the stream. And this was something that came to my attention because I'm always seeing, you know, through some of the people that I follow, I'm always seeing the silliness that takes place in the so-called video game community, and the way some of the people react to fiction, and they just take it way too far. So there's, oh, you know what? This isn't even a video game. My mistake. This is actually a card game. But, same idea. People taking fiction way too far. I did look at the Kickstarter. It actually looks like it might be a pretty interesting card game. I'm not too big on that kind of stuff. The last thing I played years ago was Magic and Spellfire, if anybody even knows what that is. That was in the early and late 90s, though, so I haven't really been into it for a very long time. But people reacted to this particular piece of artwork, and I'm sure some of you can already guess why. Oh, it's a woman. It's so unrealistic. How could you portray women like this? So, here we go. I guess this is where it starts. So this guy here just decides, you know, I guess a lot of people were complaining. I can see some of the comments, but here's one in particular. First, I might as well give the context. The adage different strokes for different folks comes to mind in reaction to the mixed reception of this announcement. You don't have to like it, but I think it's unfair to accuse a company of ruining your hobby space by releasing a niche product. You know, fair enough. The reply, it is not Japanime by itself, but why call it Japanime? Isn't anime Japanese by default? But the trend of perpetuating women as objects is not limited to just board games. It harms our industry. It harms women. It harms society. This is the face of a man who will never get a date because he doesn't realize that nobody finds this attitude appealing. I mean, I'm always confused by the logic that these people spout off. Is it the board games? Is it the video games? Or is it the nature of men? They kind of just can't seem to pick which one. It's like, why would fiction harm women? What actually happens when somebody sees a picture that they don't like? What, they feel slightly uncomfortable, maybe? That's about it. There's, nobody's rights are being infringed upon. Nobody's being physically harmed. You could say that there's a little bit of emotional discomfort, but that just seems to be a major lack of coping skills with not only reality, but fantasy. I mean, quite frankly, I find it to be one of the most privileged, to use their language, of mindsets to be able to sit here and even complain about fictional concepts. I mean, if that is your go-to, you have to have it pretty good in life. To be able to sit on the internet and be concerned about what people are imagining, your problems, in comparison to, real societal issues where people in different societies are actually being harmed to a degree that is, demonstrably worse. You have it pretty good. And it seems a bit ungrateful to concern yourself with this so much that you basically want to erase it because it goes against your sensibilities. This guy, he just goes on to claim there are many, many harmful forms of art, but doesn't name any. I'd be interested to know what he was talking about, but apparently he's going through and blocking people. So, even asking him would be pointless, because it's one of those, I'm right, you're wrong no matter what you say, because I have deemed these things harmful. And I just think it's silly to speak on behalf of an entire gender. I don't think any one person, even somebody that is part of that group, gets the right to claim that they have some sort of ownership or authority over the entirety of the group, because you're always going to be able to find plenty of people within it that disagree, that support the thing that you're against. So it seems dumb to take these opinions and act like it applies to the whole. Let's see. Okay, so they were saying, I won't go through, but there were plenty of comments saying that, she was unrealistic. So I just had to point out that there's an actual cosplayer that basically dresses up as this character and, looks pretty dead on. It might not even be the exact same character, but very similar. The Egyptian look. We'll go here real quick. Yeah, I mean, this is a real person, so to claim that, there's no real women that look like that, that's ridiculous. Just because. And I think this is a part of the whole everybody's beautiful, body positivity. They've never seen somebody that's in good physical condition, so they can't fathom that somebody might actually look decent or better than them. And so they have to call it unrealistic. They have to claim, oh, this look is harmful to women. It's oppressing us. All right, let's see what's going on. I don't know. It's prostituting itself for the money. Who gave the dislikes? Just say it. It's just anime titties. It's such a dated term too. Japanime is what we said in the 90s. Yeah, I do remember that going around, but it seems like a redundant term. Harmful. The art just beats women. It comes alive and literally punches them in the face. Sounds like that's what they need. SJW believe in fantasy genders, therefore fantasy is real. Call Ralphie's crying. Oh, hello. Nippon milkers. Nice, nice. Yeah, so it bothers me the way I don't know who did the whole the dislike thing. One of them was here before I even went on air, which is a little weird. Apparently some people just don't like that. Who is she and what's her Insta? You know what? I will get it for you because I am a very nice person. So give me one moment and I'm going to get that for you. As far as I know, she's just a cosplayer. Let me grab the link and I will post it in the chat. If I can find the stream. There's the direct link to the post. Dislike bots are a thing. Yeah, but I don't want to be one of those guys that ends up chalking up all dislikes to the bot community. The Russian bots, they're hacking my stream. What am I going to do? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just seems strange to me. Even when people like a video or stream before it goes live, that, I appreciate it. It's cool, but I don't get it because the content. Dude, thank you. No problem. Enjoy. Yes, support real women. Support women that don't have a problem with fictional characters and will embrace the fiction. I'm just fed up with the way that people behave. They call these people entitled. They call these people privileged. They call them man babies. And yet their biggest complaints are with fictional concepts. It's like they don't understand that they're basically the very thing they accuse everyone else of. And I almost hate to go to the projection thing, but it just seems to me that nobody really, apparently there's a dog going to be barking in the background every time I go, live. But, yeah, it's like there's a massive disconnect, and they just don't understand that they seem to be kind of projecting their own mindset onto other people. Oh, okay, so speaking of stupidity, that brings me to, I saw a promoted ad earlier, and I've been getting a lot of weird promoted ads from companies, and every time I see one, it seems to be some sort of virtue signaling. I mean, Pride Month is almost over, so they have to get it out there. So I saw Coca-Cola, and I mean, I don't drink the crap. I think it's garbage. It's poison. But what does this have to do with soda? As a mom, it makes me so extremely proud to see my son being happy, being his true self. Gina, hashtag proud parent. Send us your story and spread the love this Pride Month. Hashtag share your pride. Why? What is this? So somebody decided to question this. What does this have to do with your product? The answer is priceless. Diversity and togetherness is very important to us. Since 1886, we've been all about bringing communities and people together. That's a very long time. That may be part of your mission statement, but it tells me nothing about your product or why I should buy it, other than virtue signaling. But thanks for the response. Deep in our heritage is a commitment to bringing people and communities together to connect in everyday moments through optimism, diversity, and togetherness. We stand for togetherness, especially over an ice-cold Coke. Can you get any more dramatic? I mean, it just sounds like cheesy superhero dialogue. Like Coca-Cola Man, the comic book or something. It's just absurd to me that every company, regardless of what they sell, something that has absolutely nothing to do with sexuality, because you could just walk into a store, no matter who you are, and buy a fucking can of soda. But no. Pride. Have pride in your cola. Have pride in your community. We are diverse. this is stupid. A company that sells soda that anybody can buy, and they want to talk about diversity. I mean, just by extension of the fact that they're selling a product that so many people enjoy would, by default, make their consumer base diverse. What is the point of pointing that out? What is the point of shoehorning sexuality into it? I get it. It's kind of like a marketing thing. They want to appeal to this crowd and say, we support you, we're behind you, diversity and inclusion all the way. And then they think that, you know, the rainbows are going to come in and buy Coca-Cola by the case because for some reason they are supported by soda. Diversity and diabetes, as I like to call it. I feel like I could start another YouTube channel just called Diversity and Diabetes. I was kind of tempted to change my Twitter handle to that because it's catchy. Unlike this crap where every single company, and I'm so tired of looking at it, every avatar has to change to... I'm surprised they don't have theirs done, but almost every avatar is changed to that stupid rainbow filter. I saw one from the video game company NIS America earlier because I was looking at posts that they had put out. It had nothing to do with Pride, but sure enough, their avatar was advertising it. It's just, it's obnoxious. You see it everywhere. It's always jammed down your throat, in spite of the fact that the whole argument was, it's our bedroom and it's none of your business what happens in there. Well, if it's none of my business, I don't need to know about it. Fair enough? I would think so, but apparently not. It's like, it's not enough for these people to be tolerated, to have their equal rights. No, you have to like them too. You have to accept it. You have to speak out and be an ally. No, fuck that. There are more important things to worry about in the world aside from who you spend your time with. I don't care. Okay, now I got yellow fever. Isn't Coca-Cola also owned by some Middle Eastern people? You know, I'm not sure. I drink the poison, my stomach hates me. Yeah, it's too sugary. I used to drink soda. I haven't had soda in about 10 years. I quit. And honestly, I felt a lot better after I quit. It's just a lot less sugar, you know. You can lose weight easier. Virtue signaling like this tells me they don't want us to notice certain things they've done before. You know, somebody had put out some sort of post, and I didn't save it, but somebody put out some sort of image that had claimed that Coca-Cola did have problems in the past regarding bias in hiring or something like that. It might have been against blacks or something. I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was true, because it always seems like whenever somebody postures really hard about this stuff, it's because they're trying to cover up their own so-called problematic past by overcompensating. It's like when the male feminists speak out against sexism and sexual assault and all that, and then, you know, later on you come to find out that they've been accused by somebody. And look, I know an accusation doesn't necessarily mean guilt, and I don't want to pretend it does, but it kind of makes me laugh just because they speak out so much and their own ideology comes back to eat them. They don't see how they're basically killing themselves. They're putting, you know, the gun to their own head on that one. They've gone too far. Yeah, I'm just sick of every company saying diversity, diversity, diversity. It's like we get it. We get it. If we live in, you know, in the U.S., I'm sure maybe some of you don't, but it's just, it's crazy to me that we have to constantly hear these buzzwords I could not care less about. Oh, this was sort of a random tidbit. It really had nothing to do with much of anything, but I made a video a while ago, 3 years ago now, to be exact. And it had to do with the whole MGTOW label, and it wasn't necessarily a blanket condemnation of the label. I just I like to make videos where, or at least I did in the past, haven't done in a while, I'll take some posts from a certain community or whatever and just kind of, you know, point out the dumbest ones and have a laugh at it, or, you know, mock it a little bit and maybe throw in some opinions here and there. And that's basically what I did with this. And I believe I even clarified at the end of the video that, you know, basically it's like, if you use the label and what was said here doesn't apply to you, then I'm not talking about you, pretty much, you know? So I get tons of comments on the video to this day, but what always makes me laugh is the language these guys tend to use. And it's a bit of a generalization, but it seems to ring true. So this guy 3 weeks ago comes to the video and he says, "I'd like to see the face of Scratch. Probably a flimsy little weed of a man who would blow over in a moderate wind. Cuck, cuck." That's awesome. I mean, that's pretty funny. I laughed at it. I get a laugh out of this. So then he comes back. Oh wait, here we go. So yeah, he spends a lot of time on this video. Here we go. So this was also... Okay, I know what I did. My bad. I'm getting a little flubbed, but here we go. So he also leaves another comment before leaving, I guess, 3 weeks ago. "I am MGTOW and proud of it. Do some research before you make idiotic videos like this." So what I did was, you know, I actually took comments from their communities and read them off and just commented on those particular posts. So to say do your research is absolutely ridiculous. I took the words from the horse's mouth. If you think that the person looks bad as a result of what they themselves have said, perhaps the issue is not with me. You know, I'm all open to being criticized and say, hey, maybe you went wrong here, but I didn't get any of that. So somebody had said, oh, he's 100% right, and then he replies, no, he's a fuckwit who does not even have the balls to show his ugly face. Now, before I get to why that's stupid, I'm going to go over one more, and this was earlier today, I believe. He comes back 3 weeks later to comment on the video again. It's like, okay, did he not remember that he commented before? Or did he just feel the need to come back again and rant and rave? MGTOW is winning. Each of us older guys are convincing at least a few young men not to marry or to cancel their weddings. That's thousands, maybe millions of men who will never marry and transfer their wealth to women. This will be the greatest social movement in history. It has worked in Japan. That's bullshit lie. It will work in the West, and I want it to spread in China also. Excuse me. So proud to be a part of this wonderful philosophy. Okay, look. People can make whatever choice that they want within the confines of the law when it comes to their own personal relationships. So if there's a bunch of dudes that don't want to waste so-called time on women, you know, they feel that they want to be alone for whatever reason, have at it. Me personally, I would like to encourage people to form healthy relationships. I understand that that's a difficult thing in this day and age with the way that the dating culture is, but if you don't do anything to fix it, it's never going to change. So I at least try to encourage people to do that. Now, they don't have to listen. I can't force anyone. I can't hold a gun to anybody's head. So when people come with this kind of vitriol in response, when, you know, I have no power to control what anybody does, I'm just leaving my comment in the pool of many. It's very surprising to me because they act as though I have some sort of power to actually enforce things. The Jordan Peterson enforced monogamy, if you will. So the Japan comment is bullshit. I mean, there's the whole declining birth rate thing. You know, I think that's mostly due to the work culture over there. That's not because there's a MGTOW movement. That's ridiculous. They always say these weird things like MGTOW is winning. It can't be the greatest social movement in history because if all of these men abstain from relationships, abstain from getting married, abstain from having children, you will die. You will die out. You can't... There's nothing. It's a losing battle. There's nothing for you to do. So, again, fair enough if you want to do this, if you don't want marriage, you don't want kids, you know, those are all personal choices. But don't tell me that you're winning something, because you have no future for your lineage if that's what you choose. And the one thing I will say that kind of amazes me about this is that, I'm not going to say all, but a decent majority, or a decent amount, if you will, of people that complain that, kind of like the white race is declining, the numbers are going down, the birth rates are down. You can't simultaneously say that and be worried about it, and then not have children of your own and say that, oh, these guys abstaining from relationships are right and they're winning. No, they're not. They're failing, and they're failing you according to your own mindset. I realize that may sound kind of like a conflation, but I have seen people simultaneously make those points, and I feel that it's a little bit absurd, because if you want to preserve your race or whatever, you have to take part in that. You can't just say, oh, I'm going my own way, everybody else can do it for me. No, if you want change, you have to try to make it yourself. It's basically the same thing that the majority of these people tell the social justice advocates, where they'll complain about some form of fiction and they'll be like, well, if you don't like it, go make it yourself. I agree, go make it yourself. So in the same vein, if you want to see change in relationships, if you want to see more children in your community of people, then you have to go out there and try to do that. And that's my take on that. MGTOW is winning. Okay, so let me just come here and check the too many unemployed gender studies grads. Yeah, gender studies, the most useless degree. Wouldn't be so opposed to all this shit if they just tried to shove it down everybody's throats. Yeah, things like that turn people off to supporting them. Well, they are MGTOW. What else do you expect? Greatest social movement in history. Are the attack on marriage is the biggest problem I have with MGTOW. Right, because it's you can complain that maybe the court system is more biased against men, and that's a valid concern, but giving up isn't the answer, especially if you want that to change. Most women are used goods. Yeah, I mean, look, there is a emphasis on the hookup culture, so I do get it. I do understand. I do think things are in a bit of a mess, but you can't just quit and say that's the answer. You don't solve a problem by running away from it. And like I said, an individual has the ability to choose what they want to do with their relationships, their personal life, but you can't say the culture sucks and then be like, I quit. Be a good guy, marry, and have kids. Indeed, MGTOW is a symptom. Yeah, I don't really necessarily, I never had a problem with these people, but they just can't seem to take the slightest bit of criticism. You guarantee lifetime alimony, your house, half your assets, custody of any kids. What is the return? Look, yeah, right. Those are issues. I think that my problem is that there is an assumption that, look, I understand that men and women are different and they have different generalities that apply to them. But there's this assumption with MGTOW that the only thing women want is to, take a man for everything he has. And look, there are enough stories out there of horror stories of people that get in shit relationships, and that's a huge problem. But it's not the entirety of people, and if you're not willing to trust to an extent, you're never going to find anything that's productive. The traditional family unit is worth fighting for. Yeah, I think so, because as it seems, that is a core foundation of stability and how people grow up. So I think there's been too much of a separation from tradition. You know, it's just been labeled that all tradition is bad, all is outdated, simply because we have these new social movements that claim that, you know, they're underrepresented, they're oppressed, they need their lifestyle to be propped up. So what has happened is that in order to lift themselves up, they've bashed the traditions. They've pushed them down. They've made them out to be terrible, and I don't think that's the case. I think the issue is that, you know, society has changed. The concept of marriage and family is more or less the same. It's people's attitudes that have changed towards it, and that's why people don't stay together anymore. They have this idea that the grass is always greener, you can always find somebody new, people are all replaceable. And while I don't think anybody should stay in an unhealthy or abusive relationship, I do think that people have kind of lowered the bar for what constitutes quitting, like what constitutes breaking up with somebody and leaving them behind. It seems like mild unhappiness is now a reason to leave somebody, and the problem with that is relationships, while they can bring you plenty of joy, there's also a lot of ups and downs, and they are work. You have to put in effort, and your partner has to put in effort as well. And it seems as though the more entitled people become, the more hedonistic they become, the less willing they are to try to work things out between each other and stick together and build a healthy relationship, because they believe that they are entitled to always be happy and always feel good. And that's just not how reality works. It's basically a dream. Marriage worked when divorce was the last resort. Yeah, and you know, the argument that I always see against that is people act as though every other marriage was abusive and that people were just simply trapped and always getting, you know, the wives were always getting smacked around, and it just seems like such an exaggeration. It's like, yeah, you know, those things happen, but I don't think it was the majority just because divorce wasn't necessarily much of an option. You know, now it's like marriage isn't taken seriously, so I honestly question why people even bother. It's like, if you don't plan on trying to make the best of it, why take the vows? And again, you know, that's a devaluing of tradition. The vows don't have to mean as much anymore. So yeah, that was kind of a tangent from this commentary. Oh, and I wanted to say, because he was like, oh, you don't have the balls to show your face. Well, obviously, he's an idiot that didn't even bother. I mean, first of all, my face is on Twitter. My face is in some of my past videos. I don't care about having my face out there. If people want to make fun of it, that's cool. But don't you miss me with that bullshit if this is what you look like, okay? This is the alpha male. This is the pinnacle of manliness. I think I'll take the win here, okay? Just saying. I mean, he can't... You know, I don't think it's an argument to go after somebody's appearance by any means, but if you're gonna do it to me, well, the gloves are off, pal. We need to shun divorce because at this point we laugh it off when someone says I got my third divorce. That's a little sad, yeah. I think it's kind of messed up. The vows are practically meaningless anymore. So they changed how society views it. How do we change it back? That's, you know, that's a tough one, especially when the prevailing narrative is that, you know, like, you always deserve to be happy. And I think it's also the bashing of masculinity, of men in general. Things like that don't help attitudes either. The next quick thing I wanted to cover here was this situation regarding Laci Green, and most of you might know I'm no fan. Absolutely no enjoyment of this person at all. But apparently Laci was on a podcast. Let me go to the first comment here. So I don't know who this Grace Helbig person is, but apparently she had her on her podcast, and there was a post where she comes out and says, "I've been reading your comments and conversations all day, and I really want to apologize for not doing my research and allowing a community that I love and support to feel like I've let them down. I hope you continue to educate me and each other with compassion and empathy." And the community that is being talked about, I believe, is the LGBT alphabet soup community. Because apparently fans of this Grace person got pissed because Grace had Laci on the podcast saying, transphobic, blah, blah, blah. Which I think you have to be delusional to think that Laci Green is anything different than the narrative that these people support. She hasn't changed. A lot of people want to say, oh, she's red-pilled now. That's not true at all. Her opinions have not changed. Especially if you listen to her in interviews. She has the same basic opinions. She believes the same feminist concepts. The only difference now is that she's willing to talk to the other side. Not agree. Talk. There's, she thinks she can persuade them to her side. And with some of the attitudes I've seen lately defending her, I want to say that she's been somewhat successful in at least making people believe that this is anything more than a grasp at relevancy again. I think most of this is PR in relation to the fact that she's dating Chris Ray Gun, okay? This whole let's have conversations thing is just a way to bring in more viewership and sort of say, because if you think about it, these are two conflicting communities. You have Chris Ray Gun fans, you have Laci Green fans. They're not really the same exactly. They may be the left in principle, but they have the so-called anti-SJW, and then they have the SJW side of things. And, you obviously know which falls on which, and I think the conversation aspect is just a way of saying, oh, I'm open to speaking, but it's just conversation and changing minds and friendly debate. So apparently Laci replied, "I think this is about me. I enjoyed chatting on Grace's podcast. Honestly, I'm deeply hurt by those online who constantly spread lies and gossip about me. I deal with a torrent of harassment online over things I supposedly believe or said that I don't believe and never said." And I can actually agree with that. Not necessarily the harassment, but the fact that people attribute ideas to her that I don't think she's expressed. And that's from both sides of the spectrum, with the people that are like, oh, she's different now, she's red-pilled, and the people that's like, oh, she's transphobic. No, she's the same. She still supports all those communities. Also, I would never do anything to harm my trans family or anyone. I have been fighting tooth and nail for 10+ years because I believe in this fight. I am imperfect, but the gossip that I am exclusionary or violent is absolute bullshit. Actually watch my videos, maybe. One criticism I get regularly, this is great, that does address things I've actually said or done, is that I talk to transphobes and people who do or say harmful things, which is true. So basically, she just threw everybody that she talks to that is on the opposite side under the bus to say that, well, that criticism is true. I do talk to people that do terrible shit, but I disagree with them. So because dialogue is critical to progress, not process. Anyhow, I've said all this many times before. Apologies to those who are tired of me beating the same drum. I'm pretty tired of it myself. Truthfully, I'm tired. I'm pretty broken from all this. There's a new wave of outrage every time I so much as breathe. This is why I don't use social media much anymore. Honestly, I don't miss her presence on social media. I think that these public figures get way too entitled. They want to have these massive audiences and spread their opinions as truth, and then be surprised when they get a torrent of people disagreeing with them. And then that gets conflated with the one or two comments where somebody says, hey bitch, I want to punch you in the face, and then they act like that's the majority of the comments, when the truth is it's a lot of people saying, I disagree, here's why I disagree, but they'd rather focus on those few people that say the extreme shit, so that way they can deflect from ever really responding to the meaningful criticisms that debunk their points. And that's how I feel about that. There was a reply again, so my apologies on not doing my research is because I missed out on having an open conversation with you on the what's and whys people find offense in the way you and others talk about gender / sexuality / etc. Everyone is quick to say I'm throwing you under the bus or promoting a bad person. Neither are true. I kind of think they're both throwing people under the bus. But, you know, I don't really have much of an issue with this. I kind of feel like you reap what you sow here, and these are the type of people that want to be seen as allies so much that they end up getting eaten by their own ideology, to the point that people that they're actually on the side of end up disavowing them as the very people they speak out against. It's insane to me. This is how far gone they are. Again, can't stand Laci Green, but if you think that that's somebody that is politically incorrect to the point that you need to publicly disavow them, you're out of your mind, because she is still one of these feminist tards that spreads the whole patriarchy and rape culture nonsense. Let's see. Going up here. What did Laci Gangrene do this time? Laci's new to like to respect it. That's what you get for being a center liberal. If we get rid of premarital sex and only allow it when married, would that get more people to marry? I don't know how you would really control that, though. You know, that seems like you'd have to infringe on people's agency, and I'm sure that there would be considering it's regarding sex, I think there'd be a massive backlash on that one. You'd probably have people rioting in the streets, people that are usually against rioting. Laci took the red pill, shoved it over. Actually, if you go to her YouTube channel, she shoved an egg up there. Yes, I'm not kidding. You can go check it out yourself. Chris Ray Gun is a cuck. I know I said it twice. You mean cuck Ray Gun, as Dick Masterson would say. I don't see how we can get rid of it, but we certainly should at the very least shame slutty behavior. Right, so the change has to be sort of an attitude change. You can't necessarily, you know, hold people at gunpoint and prevent them from doing poor behaviors, but you can encourage the good behaviors and point out the reasons why the slutty behavior is wrong and bad. You know, it is mentally damaging, and people don't really want to take that into account because they want to act like actions don't have consequences just because it makes them feel good in the moment, and that's not true. Laci only got the skeptics on her side, and they're fucking useless. I agree with that. I talked to transphobes. The fact that she used that word demonstrates that she's not red-pilled. They are very good at subversion. Oh no, not Laci Green. Opposing degeneracy is not a phobia. Yeah, that's always what seems to happen. Red-pilled seems to have varying definitions. Yeah, it's basically... I hate the term, to be honest. I'd like to see a return to patriarchy. Return to patriarchy. There's a good good YouTube username or something right there. She's a big-time YouTuber. Of course she has to kowtow. No thanks, I'd rather not see that. So Chris Reagan got cucked by an egg. So instead of touched by an angel, it's cucked by an egg. Yeah, I'm not really surprised with that. But yeah, that's the basic situation that's happening here. Just more people kind of getting what they deserve when it comes to their ideology coming back to slap them in the face. Oh, okay, so the next topic is just a quick... it's a little quick thing about back to the tabletop gaming, D&D specifically, and there's a little thing going on where it's sort of like Wizards of the Coast is they're kind of inserting their social justice nonsense. If you go to their Twitter, they're one of the companies guilty of the whole rainbow avatar thing. There was a person, and this person had posted a link to an article. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to grab the link to the article, so I lost it. And then, of course, in addition to blocking me, they put their account on protected, so I couldn't go to their account even on incognito and get the link. So we missed out on checking out the article, but I just want to point out that they had a thread, and they said in this thread, they are a person who has actual PTSD caused by tabletop harassment and who has spent thousands of dollars on therapy and medication. This shit is not fucking funny. No, my friends. This shit is funny. A major mental health disorder caused by a tabletop RPG. Are you fucking serious? I mean, this just devalues the concept of post-traumatic stress disorder. It makes it look like a joke, because anybody that believes that their mental issue was caused by a role-playing game is retarded. There's no other word. It's psychotic to I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with the world, but if somebody is so fragile that they're being triggered into PTSD by a game, an imaginary game, there's something wrong. There is something seriously wrong with the way people are being brought up. There are no coping skills. No just being told sometimes in life you're gonna feel uncomfortable, and it's okay. It's not gonna destroy you. But instead, we tell people now, words are violence. These ideas are harmful. And this is what you end up with. People that believe that you can get PTSD from playing games. A hobby that you willingly take part in. Look, I think that the whole... First of all, the term tabletop harassment is fucking hilarious. I don't even know what that means. What happened? Like, did you step on a D4? I don't understand. How can you be... You have the choice to sit at the table with people and play this game. So why don't you pick a group of people that you're comfortable with? If you get into a situation where you say, oh, I don't like these people, you just pick a different game. Find some new people to play with. It's really that easy. But instead, we have to act like there is this concept of community, and that everybody who happens to play this game is part of this community. Except, of course, for the people that we have deemed problematic. No, gatekeeping is bad, but let's kick out all the literal Nazis. It's the hypocrisy that is astounding to me. Now, my point here is that I don't believe that there is a community here. I don't think that Dungeons and Dragons is a community. I don't even think video games is a community. Because there's so many people involved from all different walks of life that there's no way that they're all going to feel this sense of solidarity with each other just because they happen to share a hobby. Because if all the other things that people disagree on and don't want to be friends because of, there's no way. And I find it especially absurd with something like a game such as Dungeons and Dragons, because you choose who you play with. It's up to you how you want to run a game, what you think is acceptable and not acceptable, and nobody's forcing you to do otherwise. So to act as though the company that just provides you with source material has to step in and do some sort of community policing is a joke. An absolute fucking joke. This person is crazy. They don't deserve to be taken seriously. And when I say crazy, I don't mean somebody that's really suffering from some sort of serious mental disorder. I just think that they're loopy beyond help at this point. Imagine being this person's therapist. How do you keep a straight face with somebody that tells you that they were they were triggered by a tabletop game? I can't do it. Back to the chat we go. Quartering covered that about the card game SJW policy. So D&D is following footsteps of Magic the Gathering. Well, yeah, D&D and, I don't know if you know, Magic the Gathering, they're both from Wizards of the Coast, so it's no surprising. Yeah, but Jeremy still supports WOTC. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to lose a lot of people if they keep this up. I'm sorry, PTSD from tabletop games, really? Oh man, the shit-lived crap is 20 times worse than the satanic panic. Yeah, it's terrible. I got PTSD from Mario Party. I got Vietnam flashbacks from playing D&D. Remember when video being challenging was a good thing? Yeah. I served 2 years in Age of Empires too. We have to save ourselves if we fail, and then we deserve to fall. Oh yeah, this is just, it's crazy. So that kind of segues, though, into the next little thing, which is also Dungeons & Dragons related. Meanwhile, in Dungeons & Dragons, this is from one of their newest source books, and I think it just goes to demonstrate the level of absurdity that these people will go to for the, what they like to call positive representation. Now, picture it if you will. Ever-changing, mirthful, and beautiful, the primal elves could assume whatever sex they liked. When they bowed to Lolth's influence and chose to fix their physical forms, elves lost the ability to transform in this way. Yet occasionally, elves are born who are so androgynous that they are proclaimed to be among the blessed of Corellon, living symbols of the god's love and of the primal elves' original fluid state of being, gender fluid, that is. Many of Corellon's chief priests bear this blessing. The rarest of these blessed elves can change their sex whenever they finish a long rest, a miracle celebrated by elves of all sorts except Drow, because Drow are the bigots. The DM decides whether an elf can manifest this miracle. Dark elves find this ability to be terrifying and characterize it as a curse, for it could destabilize their entire society. You know, they say that like it's a joke, but the whole gender role subversion thing, if you think about it, we are the Drow. If Corellon's blessing manifests in a Drow, that elf usually flees to the surface world to seek shelter among those dedicated to Corellon. Do you see what they did there? They made the trans elves the chosen holy people because they're so desperate for their fucking self-insert delusions that they need to be seen as the top tier, the trans master race. How do you take this seriously? You know, the thing that really bothers me most about the whole representation argument, especially with Dungeons & Dragons, is that you buy source books, and then the rest is up to you. You don't even have to use the world provided by Dungeons & Dragons. And that's kind of why, while this is a problem, because I hate that they push these ideals, it's also not so bad in this context, simply because, look, I get supporting a company that does this is garbage, and you know, you shouldn't do it. I don't think you should waste your money on companies that want to do this whole virtue signaling bit and ruin their properties with forced diversity, because I think it creates situations like these where they have this Tumblr delusional fanfic shit and they put themselves in as the greatest thing known to mankind, because in their real lives they feel like shit. And so they have to use fiction to prop themselves up, and that's just fucking sad. But I'm going off on a tangent. The reason it's not so bad with Dungeons & Dragons, if you're somebody that still wants to play in spite of this nonsense, is that, and this is the same reason against representation, the game can be anything you want. You decide what you include in your world. You can decide what the races, you know, that you can play are, what their abilities are. You can modify this system so much that it's barely anything resembling the original, aside from the fact that you're using the, you know, the D20 system. So it becomes this crazy nonsense that's like, the people that are clamoring for the representation in the source books, it feels like they're so unimaginative that they need it provided for them by the source material. They can't just buy the books and be like, okay, well, I don't see this here, so I want to create it in my world. No, they can't do that. It's not enough. They have to be considered the holy people of the Elvish Kingdom to feel accepted, to feel like it's okay for them to play a fucking game that anybody with $30 can go to the store and buy the source material for. It's nuts. And I think it's delusional. Okay, this is great. So, this is too gay for me. Oh god, this is a very drawn way of saying that elves have the best of both worlds. Transatlantic. Can I trans into Conqueror of the World? God's chosen elves. Just play Pathfinder, D&D third edition. I grew up, I mean, I did start with the first edition, but then quickly moved up to second with my cousins way back in the day, and I liked second edition a lot. I didn't mind fifth at first because to me it felt like it went back towards the second edition style, but I guess kind of simplified it further, which, you know, depending on your opinion is a good or bad thing. But now it's just like, this is a turnoff. Things like this are so stupid that it's not even clever. You can, you know, you read it and you can tell what they're trying to do. Before long, it'll all be paused, though, not to mention the community is now so full of these shit lives it's near impossible to find a play group opposed to it. Can someone get this mental illness out of the things I enjoy? Well, you know, I think that the vote with your wallet policy is the best way. It really does suck when things that you know, like and care about are destroyed by people that, you know, people that I believe used to bully the people that played it back in the day before it was popular, but now they want in because it's cool. And now they, not only do they want in, they want to control it too. And that's the part that really pisses me off, the hypocrisy of the whole thing. They complain about gatekeeping, but then they want to play gatekeeper. I haven't played fifth, but I usually prefer more complex systems. Yeah, so I think, you know, for me, I prefer second, to be honest. But I haven't really played in years. I mean, I played a small, short game maybe last year, but it was, you know, one session and that was about it. So I haven't been in a long-running game in a long time. But yeah, I think that they're going to come to find that there aren't enough people, or at least not enough as they make it seem like, to support these ideas. Because if you look at things like Marvel Comics, they had to dial back on their whole diversity thing. All of those changes they made, you know, a decent majority of them they had to roll back on because it didn't work out. So I think that if this continues, it's going to get so convoluted that the core fan base is going to be like, what is this nonsense? And they're going to go find something else. So I just feel as though it has to end at some point. Or at least, maybe that's just, you know, maybe that's just my hope. But I think that it's reaching a boiling point. How much longer can it go on for? Because it's getting more and more absurd by the day. And speaking of absurdities, that brings us to our last story. A mixed race family asks Bluebell ice cream to change flavor name. So let's take a look at the flavor. The Great Divide. And what is the Great Divide, you ask? It is homemade vanilla and Dutch chocolate. And it's split right down the middle, just like God intended. So, let's see what happened here. A mixed-race family of 8 are asking Bluebell Ice Cream to change the name of a popular chocolate and vanilla ice cream flavor, The Great Divide, to be more inclusive. Look, it has chocolate. It has vanilla. How much more inclusive can you get? Where the fuck's strawberry? Why aren't we going a little Neapolitan here? I call bigotry. No strawberry. These anti-fucking strawberry bigots. No, but in all seriousness, how the fuck are you going to look at ice cream and see race? Doesn't that make you the racist? Like, you're inserting this weird inference that, or you're getting like this weird inference out of it that the ice cream company is somehow making a statement about race when it's just a separation of ice cream. The separation of ice cream and ideology. It's like church and state, you know? Well, let's continue on before I throw up. Tracy Schmidley, her husband, and their brood of 6 children, that's kind of hilarious, were sitting down for an ice cream party at their Louisiana home to celebrate the end of a hard week. Schmidley wrote on Love What Matters, "We always buy Bluebell, and this time we chose the flavor The Great Divide, which has chocolate on one half and vanilla on the other half." Ooh. Hard-hitting writing here. After dishing out the dessert, Schmidley said her older son, 10, jokingly called the Great Divide flavor the Civil War. Okay, look. You know what? That's actually pretty funny. So she turned this poor kid's joke into a social movement? Let's carry on. The line down the middle of the carton reminded him of the Mason-Dixon line, and the name reminded him of a time in history when our nation appeared to be irrevocably divided. He looked at our table and saw a mixture of both black and white people, not divided on one side or the other like in the ice cream, but gathered around the table together, she wrote. You know, I'm seeing a little bit of projection on the mother's part here. I'm not really buying into the whole, my woke 10-year-old son had a riveting social commentary on ice cream. Diversity in ice cream, nonetheless. Schmidley wrote that her son was not complaining or calling the name racist. He just didn't think the name Great Divide was the best name for something as wonderfully unifying as Bluebell ice cream. How is ice cream unifying? I mean, what? You know what? I think we just solved racism. Let's, you know, you just showed up at a lynching back in the day when the KKK was about to hang the black dude. This could be a commercial. Somebody just comes up with, picture it, you know, the Great Divide ice cream, and they're like, wait, sir, good sirs. We don't have to fight. We can all come together under one ice cream. Bluebell. Not the Great Divide, but the Great Unity. And so, you know, then it cuts to the KKK dudes, you know, letting the black guy down off the tree, and they decide, oh, we're not going to hang him, we're all going to come together. They take off their hoods, they're all smiling at each other, shaking hands, hugging, and sitting around the table for some ice cream. That's a beautiful commercial right there. I think we should, I'm going to write that one down. I'm going to send it into Bluebell. So Schmidley, a teacher who homeschools her children, saw a learning opportunity. Of course she did. We had a lot of great discussion about how despite the division at that time in our country's history, how our very table, located in the Deep South, was reflective of how far we have come as a people, she wrote. Excuse me. I challenged the kids to come up with a different name that could capture the intent of Bluebell ice cream, but would reflect the remarkable progress our country has made. Why the fuck do you need a social, like, a name that says progress in their ice cream? Within 20 minutes, the proud mom said 2 of her sons came up with a new name. Better Together. That's so cute. Schmidley and her husband, foster more children in addition to their 6, 2 of whom were adopted from foster care, and they all have different skin colors, which prompted the kid's new name. I thought a new name could be Better Together because it will make everyone happy, and also in our family, everyone, no matter what our color, are all better together as well. If we work together, we're really powerful, and nothing can overcome it. Yeah, you know, that's a nice dream, but in reality, doesn't really work, now does it? The Facebook post has been liked more than 25,000 times and shared 12,000. Well, of course it has. It's the biggest attention-grabbing, diversity and inclusion nonsense with dessert involved. People are going to eat that up. Pun intended. Schmidley, who describes her family as being passionate about faith, education, and adoption, was shocked by the response. I bet she was. People are sending us gorgeous photos of their diverse families and communities from all over the world with hashtag Better Together, she wrote. Their viral story also attracted the attention of Bluebell, who Schmidley tells Yahoo Lifestyle sent the kids a letter. They replied online and sent the kids a letter and some gift certificates. They are incredibly encouraging and supportive. They loved the message and complimented the children. Bluebell did not immediately return a request for comment, but Joe Robertson, Director of Public Relations at Bluebell Creameries, said to Yahoo Lifestyle, "We were amazed when we read the letter by their thoughtfulness and their compassion for all people, and we are humbled by their love of ice cream. We are so impressed by them and commend Tracy for providing the environment where an important conversation like this can take place at the ice cream table. Although the company loves the idea of Better Together, it probably won't change the name. We created Great Divide so that families didn't have to choose between 2 favorites, but can enjoy both homemade, vanilla, and Dutch chocolate in one container," the statement read. Yeah, fuck you guys. The Great Divide remains. Though Schmidley is just pleased that their message can spread joy, the sign on the wall reads, "When you have more than you need, build a longer table, not a higher fence." No, build the wall. We hope this article inspires you to embrace the unique diversity within your family and community and promote the idea and truth that we are all truly better together. Sickening. Honestly, sickening. How do people just buy this bullshit? It's like, okay, great, you guys are happy with your little family. That's all well and good. But why does everything have to turn into some massive social commentary? Like ice cream of all things, a flavor name. I'm glad, I think that the company just came out and did like this public relations crap. Oh, we're humbled, it's diversity and inclusion, maybe, just to kind of avoid any sort of backlash. But I think it's great. It's hilarious that they're not going to change the name. Like, no, we're going to keep you motherfuckers segregated where you belong. And that, my friends, is the end of such a beautiful and endearing story. Okay, I'm going. Got to scroll up because I believe I missed a bunch of stuff here. Okay, I'm going to support Bluebell now. That's racist. Just ice cream flavor, though. I would change the colors to red and blue. Yeah, there we go. They chose the flavor Great Divide, then complained about it. Get that chocolate back to work. Fail. Comments about products that have nothing to do with social contract. Says more about the commenters than the product. But you can't joke about anything anymore. Don't you know, jokes have a serious impact on our psyche. I believe that there is only one superior ice cream flavor, vanilla. Sure, there are other flavors, but they're lower tier. Hail vanilla. Vanilla master flavor. Ice cream is now a shit-lib cause. Stand aside, Pepsi. Bluebell is here. Hand them some Bluebell ice cream. That will solve all issues. I'll take 2 scoops of Bluebell, please. That's right. 2 scoops for you, 1 for everyone else. It reminds me of those parents who make tweets posts about their 5-year-old kid. Yep. Yep, exactly. It's the woke child syndrome. Politics and dairy products. Separate but equal. There, better name. New name idea. Mixed mutt swirl. And that could be the swirl ice cream. Facebook post, this is fake as fuck. It'd be funnier if this wasn't one of the main ways that they are subverting our culture, turning everything into a political statement of inclusivity. Yeah, I hate mulatto mania. Mongrel mixture. Can we rename it Coal Burner? Oh man, this is hilarious. It's a hell of a ring to it, actually. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think that's a funny name. UK to ban memes due to its impact. Alright, well guys, that was all for this stream. It turned out about as long as I expected it to, about an hour. I appreciate you all joining and coming along for the ride of ridiculousness. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. And I will catch you guys next stream. Thank you.